a little bit past 6 o'clock, so if you don't mind, we're going to go ahead and get started here. If you have not had an opportunity to sign in, we do have a sign in there at the door. It'd be great and very helpful to us. We have your contact information. We're going to use that thread of communication to be able to keep you informed as our developments take place and shape form here over the next couple of years. We have worked here diligently here in the last couple of years as staff for the town of Pendleton to be able to make sure that we grow with our community, we grow with our special events and the needs that they bring in. So this would be a great way to be able to make sure that everyone is well informed and all on the same page. So I'm going to go ahead and first start out. I want to welcome each and every one of you. This is a wonderful turnout. I'm thrilled. Really appreciate not only the time that you're taking out this evening to learn more about our new special event policy and some of the updates and changes that have taken shape over the last 6 months to a year. But most importantly, we want to thank you for all the time, the hard work, the countless hours that you put into our community. Ever since I worked here as a town staff member, as well as a community member, just like yourself, my first impression and was very evident to me is that the people of this community is what makes this town great. And I've been very fortunate to be able to witness a lot of amazing special events. And we as staff cannot thank you enough for all the time, the passion that you pour into your events and just making our community great. So just want to commend you for that. You are the primary source of first impressions and memories for our community. But also I really truly believe, and I know that my team here will agree, that our special events are the heart of our town. So thank you again. Just to kind of kick off, my name is Denise McKee. I'm the assistant planning director here for the town of Pendleton. I work within the planning department and very fortunate to be able to work with a great group of individuals here. And I've got a few of them here. So I'm going to start us off this evening. We also have another planning group that we've got a steering committee here at 7 o'clock. So I'm going to have to step out, but I wanted to go ahead and kind of get us going and introduce an amazing team here that we have. First off, we have Scott Reske. He is our town manager. He has been very instrumental in the developments of our new updated policy, as well as Marissa Skaggs. She is out of town, but she is our town council president, and she has also done an amazing job working with not only our planning department, but our public works department and our park department here as well in making sure that all of your needs are met and materialized in our developments here. So we got Scott Reske. We also have Carrie Craig. Carrie Craig is the community development coordinator. So part of his role is he helps aid our coordinator to our event coordination with our special events. So Carrie's been here for a couple of years now and coming up, I think, on an anniversary, 2-year anniversary. Yeah, past. So we also have our 2 event coordinators here. So we have one, it's Jennifer Everett. She represents and leads all of the special events that are what we call town events. So we're going to go into that a little bit, kind of break that down here in a little bit. But Jennifer, as well as we have Christy Edgerton, and she is the administrative assistant for the Falls Park, and she is the coordinator for any events that takes place on park properties. So these 2 individuals, they are your go-to gals. I mean, they know this process backwards and forwards. They not only help as a backbone to you as event sponsors to guide you along the way. They are phenomenal at communicating, letting you know of things that you need or they need from you, as well as making sure that your special event departmental requests and so forth are well accommodated. So we have these 2 individuals that are great liaisons, and then we have our newest addition to our planning department, Connor Grant. Connor Grant started out here this spring. He is started out as an intern in the community development. He got his master's, graduated here from Ball State this past May. And we kind of extended his role throughout the the summer here. So we're excited to have him a part of this. And one of his big projects coming in first day was a special event handbook. So he has done an amazing job. We do have some hard copies of this, but we're going to show you where you can find that online as well. But if you're like me, you like things in paper, be able to touch and write and so forth, we can make sure we get that to you as well. That being said, again, we thank you so much for coming here tonight. We make it a top priority to not only support you in your community events that you host for our town, we want to also, our goal is to build a great working relationship with you as well as our community stakeholders. One thing that is very important to us as well is that we not only listen and learn from our successes, but we also listen and learn from our mistakes. So, along the way, we're learning something new, a way that we can tweak things going forward with the next year evolving, because that is our goal. We want repeat special events here for our community. We don't want it just a one-time only. I know Ron Barnhart, he was the superintendent for the park department there for many, many years. And that was one of the big goals is that we're not only having the June Jamboree for how many years now, Mr. Krieger?
56.
56 years. So even during the tornado, in 6 days, the community turned around, supported, got the park cleaned up to make sure that event took off. So that is our goal for all of your events, is that we want them a part of our community and we want them to be on an annual basis. And then also too is just giving much time and effort in enhancing our policy and our practices, just to make sure that they are efficiently ran events, they're safe events, but then also too, that's a positive experience for everyone involved. So, as far as contact information, we're going to go to the second slide here. Here is the event coordinators, Jennifer Everett and Christy Etchison. That is their contact information. We're going to have this presentation online as well, and we're going to show you tonight where you can find that. But again, too, we do have some hard copies as well if you'd like to take one with you. But there's their phone number, their email. Also have Carrie Craig on that list as well. And you can see here the very last individual is the most recent hire from the Parks and Recreation Board, hired Sherry Belk. She was a former administrative assistant for the park office. And now starting July the 28th, she's going to be joining us again in a full-time capacity as park director. So she will also be a point of contact for you as you develop your events. Okay, the next slide here. These are the members, and there's about 20 members here, that when you file your application, these members are reviewing your application. They're taking the information that you provide and they're putting it in perspective and relative to their kind of their expertise or their needs. If there's a department request for cones or water access or electric, our public works staff is looking into it to see if it can be accommodated. They're reviewing to see if there's any questions or some clarifications that they need. Also, we have our public safety. So Mark Farr is the chief of the Pendleton Police Department. We also have Chris Nodine. He is very heavily involved with our review process as well for the fire territory. And we've got the Parks Department, Planning Department, and then also Utility Office, because the Utility Office is who coordinates a lot of the connections to your utilities. So just want to, again, thank you for all these members and the time that they put in to not only making sure that your event runs smoothly, but they do a phenomenal job of giving us feedback. So when we have events, they come back and they report to us, something that could be changed for the next time around. Okay, the next slide here. Why are we all here tonight? What's the purpose and the intent for this session? So this session is very essential. It's key for individuals such as you, individuals, organizations planning events in the town of Pendleton. So when we say town of Pendleton, it is within the town of Pendleton jurisdiction that if it's a town event, it's going to be a town event that is on public streets, sidewalks, public parking lots, also right-of-ways and alleys. And then also included in that is our town Grove Lawn Cemetery. Those that take place in Falls Park, they mainly are the park proper, which is up here at the front, kind of by the playground area, the gazebo, all the way to the park office. So that's along Falls Park Drive. That's the community building, the historical museum, Barnhart Field. That's kind of what the area that we consider our park proper. Beyond that too, there could be special events that are applied to take place at the sports complex. Also North 40 entrance, that's where the log cabin sits, and there's a pond and there's a red barn there as well. There's some great land and opportunities for events there. And then also too, there could even be at the golf course, but a lot of those events are more leased events. So we're going to kind of talk a little bit here in a minute as far as kind of what differentiates a special event on those properties, as well as then what would be just a private event. But again, for tonight, whether you are a nonprofit organization, you're an individual, maybe hired to be their event coordinator, you are the festival organizer for that event, representing that nonprofit group, civic group, that you're here investing your time to make sure that from start to finish that you've complied with the policy updates, but as well as making sure that it is a great, successful event for our community. So tonight, what you can expect to learn this evening, our primary session topics. I'm going to start off by going over a little bit of the application process where you can find these materials online, what is necessary to be deemed a complete special event application. We have our new provisions of the special event policy that is enforceable and enacted through an ordinance. So we have a special event policy ordinance, but it was just updated here. It was the 2025-09 ordinance that we had worked probably here, Scott, I'd say probably since October, September, October. We had the Lucas Trailer, Mark Farr, Chris Nodine, had all the department leads as well as the park and planning department come together, and we just worked this over probably a 10-month period. So we were able to get that approved here late spring. I think it was late April or the May town council meeting. But we want to go over those main significant changes tonight. Doing that will be a tag team between Connor Grant and Carrie Cray. And then we want to provide some contact information for some miscellaneous permits and licensing. Those are actually local and state licensing. So we really, our hand in that is to kind of connect you with the right individuals and the right organizations, that if your event has a license or a permit that you do need to obtain from the state in order to be in compliance, we're going to provide those to you and give you that contact information so you can start those conversations. We're going to share with you a special event handbook. Connor is going to share about that as well. And then our DORA, which is Designated Outdoor Refreshment Area. It's a new program that was approved through the state. It's the Alcohol Tobacco Commission, that they are allowing some uses as far as alcohol vendors within special event permit or special event activities, but then also it's more of a larger platform that we are going to be starting here in the next couple months in our downtown area. So Carrie is going to share with you about how you can create that DORA feature for your special event if you are of interest in doing that. And then we're going to end, and most importantly, our questions and concerns. We want a Q&A session. So we definitely want you to give us your feedback, ask great questions, because not only is that how you all learn, but that's more importantly how we learn hearing from you as well. Along the way, though, if there's something, this is very casual setting, informal. If there's something that we talk about that you want to ask at that moment, you know, feel free to do so. Just stop us and let us know. Good. So Jennifer is going to show you on our town website. We want to show you just basically where you start, where all of this information, where is it housed? So how to apply. We've got a special event policy and application page. You will find this, and I'll pause here for a second, let her pull up the town website. So when you Google Town of Pendleton, your Town of Pendleton, Jennifer, if you can click the Town of Pendleton right there, this is where it's going to go to. Okay, so this is our home page. And on the home page up there where the How Do I, Government, Business, and Community tabs are, you go to Government. And under that, you would hit Planning and Building Department there, right under Departments there. And our planning director, Hannah Rose Urbanski, she created this page. So on the left side, you'll see special event policy and application. This is our page that we will provide not only your templates, the maps that you could use for your event. Also, we have our form for an indemnification agreement form on there as well. We want to kind of have a one-stop shop. So if you just want to come to this page and let it kind of help navigate you through the process, you can also click here to be able to apply for your application. And then it goes on down a little bit farther with contact information for both Christy and Jennifer. And then at the very bottom, you're going to see attachments. So it has the ordinance attached, so you can go there for more details and information. Again, that indemnification agreement form. That form does need to be, and we'll talk about it here in a second, it does need to be completed and submitted at the time of your application. Your special event map templates are there as well. We've got the special event handbook that was created. And then also to a certificate of insurance there. Jennifer, while you're here, because we don't have it in our presentation, it has here generally, you know, what that certificate of insurance, your insurance provider will know exactly what they need to provide within the event policy and ordinance. It outlines the minimum coverages for your general liability. Also, if you're going to be using ATVs, vehicles, and whatnot, those will be additional coverages that you will want to provide those details to your carrier. But then at the very bottom of the page, you'll see here where across, yep, right here, Town of Pendleton and Pendleton Fall Creek Township Park District, they need to be listed as additional insured for your policy, as well as the certificate holder. So the way that what we require is if it is a town property only event, you just have to list the Town of Pendleton. However, if it is going to be an event that's going to take place at Falls Park on park property, you need to list both entities. The address 100 West State Street, though, for the Town of Pendleton will suffice. You do not need a second address there. But again, additional insured will need to also list the park as well if it is on park property. I'm going to say this now because I may not remember it later, but along with that certificate of appropriateness, or we do that for HBC, sorry, certificate of insurance, also is requirement now. A couple of years ago, we added in an insurance binder or a declaration page. Either one of those will suffice. Okay. So those are the resources that we have on that page. And then also too, if you don't go to that page, if you go back to the home page for the Town of Pendleton, you'll see here in the squares here in the center of the page, applications and permits. You can also access to be able to apply for your special event permit there by clicking here. It's going to go to that same page here to click here for your special event. Jennifer, you can go back to it and I can show you another way to arrive. So the application and permits, if you happen to click the second one there, says Access iWorks, you're still going to be able to find it under Special Works there through the special event application. So this is the application form. All of this is to be done online. It's very simple, but we would recommend that you make sure that you have as much information readily available. The reason why is because unfortunately, we're going to be working with Civic Plus. It's our keeper of our program here, our software program, to be able to hopefully be able to extend a little bit more time for you to be able to accomplish your application and get your submittals in. We're not quite for sure, but we're finding that we're hearing that maybe within about an hour, is that right? That some are getting timed out. The reason why is because when you start an application, it wants to trigger an application permit number. Then if it doesn't get fully submitted and completed, then it wants to go on to then the next number. So it's timing out. So we're going to try to see if there's a way that we can keep that from happening. to be able to save your application in progress. But
Because I was thinking, is there a possibility to actually start saving back to it?
there is
That would-
not.
Okay.
There isn't currently. We're hoping that we're going to get the answer of big yes, but our planning director is reaching out to Civic Plus to see if there is anything that can be done to be able, because one of the other things is a lot of our contractors, they are repeat applying for building permits time and time. So we give them a code where they can even go in and schedule inspections and so forth. We don't have that capacity right now for special events. So any subsequent filings and submittals just simply emailed to these two over here, which is great and fine. However, if we can become more user friendly, we want to do that. So, yeah. Did you have something?
Well, I just noticed when I've been doing mine, as long as I don't close the tab or close my
Yeah.
browser, it stays
It
active.
stays
But
active.
as soon as you close the tab, then you gotta start all over
Start
again.
over
So
again.
unfortunately,
Yeah.
that's how it is.
Okay. Did I see another hand over here?
Can a blank copy of that be downloaded to paper to review before you start?
Absolutely, we
Okay.
can most definitely do that. Let's do that. We will print that out and we will put that down at the bottom where all those attachments are that we talked about for the forms and the map examples and the certificate of insurance. So, yeah, that's a great idea. So we will do that. That way you know exactly what information that is needed. And also too, that's very important. You'll see that there are some that have the little red asterisk. That is a required field. So those are things that if there's not information material in there, it's not going to accept it as a complete application and allow you to then process and get that confirmation that yes, you applied. So yes, so that is definitely a great idea. So we'll do that. Just generally here though, suggest, reading, beforehand, the information, and we'll talk about what was deemed a complete application, but mainly it's just the details of your event. There's also a box, I can't remember how many field entries, maybe 250, 500, up top a little bit that talks about your description of your event. I mean, as much information that you can is helpful to us, especially for new events. Those that have been repeat, we kind of know what to anticipate, or public works or public safety leads. They, know what to expect. But if there's any changes or any, details that you feel is pertinent, lay them out there. We also want your contact information down there in section 2. And there is also a section back there in section 1. And you'll see there is your event and it says, on that little, keep going, well, go up. So on down, sorry. Sorry. Okay, nothing selected there. Is your event, so there's a little caret there on that left. I probably do the little, yep, right there. So that identifies as far as who's hosting it. And then we also have I'm trying to find here where the differentiation between a park event and a town event.
It's up here.
I think it's the very
It's right
top
here.
question. Yes, okay. So this kind of outlines too, as far as where the event is taking place. And what that does is it's great and helpful to Jennifer and Christy, that then they know who is to kind of take lead on the confirmation that your application has been received, reviewing it to make sure it's a complete application, taking it from there to then seeing if it's ready for circulation out to the department leads and so forth. So they are going to take these from A to Z with you. So they're going to be along the journey as well in your planning process. Event sponsor information, that's more the organization that you're representing. And then it kind of goes down into department requests. That is our park department, our street department, whether you're requesting water or electric utilities for your events. If you are requesting water or electric utility, there's even dates in there that you can plug in when you are in need of usage. And then also too, if there's a need for police, for hiring security officers, off-duty officers, parade assistants, and so forth. And then On down there for the next section, that is banners. If you're requesting to have a banner for your event, we're going to talk about that here in a little bit. Then it goes into some additional permits. So that is if you have alcohol related event, if there's going to be a raffle, fireworks display, and then it goes into your insurance information. At the time of filing the application, we do need to have at least the contact information as well as the coverages and then the name of the carrier. The reason why is we don't want to require you to have that certificate of insurance right away, because a lot of times you're raising dollars and amount. So we don't require that document until 15 days prior to your event, but we want to make sure that those conversations have taken place and those preparations are being made. And then the next section is the application to serve alcohol. Carrie's going to kind of talk a little bit about the difference between an event, kind of how we always handled an event that is serving alcohol. In those circumstances, we've had the alcohol permit holder information needs to be provided, as well as the security information that you're going to have for the event. But more importantly on that, if you are not going to kind of turn the switch on for the DORA for your event, and you just want to operate just normally to be able to have an alcohol vendor a part of your event, then what we do is that we have a sign off. So our park director, our chief of police, and our town manager will need to sign off on an authorization on that. So that's why it's important to have that information up front. And from there, then we just have the signatures and disclosures, and then where you can drop in here, you can see the event map and then the indemnification agreement as well. You can attach additional files as well. We'll talk about that here. But just for that piece, does anyone have any questions on the application? Yeah.
Back on the application, there's something about electricity, I think.
Mhm.
Okay. For example, the Lions Club gets 4 different bills for electricity because of the different,
Yes.
okay. So what if an organization in the park doesn't just use one of them, for example? What do you put on the application?
So you're saying that you get billed for 4?
There's 4 different readings
Yeah.
down there, okay? What if I've got an event where I'm just going to use one of those? What do I put up there on electricity?
And this would be kind of like a different event. So
Yeah.
if it is, so we're going to go over that here in a little bit is the kind of the fees, whether they will be a metered utility fee that will be invoiced, or will be a flat rate of $50 for utility usage. So if most of our events, all but one, is at this point in time, it's going to be the flat rate $50 if you'd like to use water or electric. It keeps it very simple. That fee doesn't exceed the amount that would be incurred, otherwise, if it's a large scale event that you're using a high amount of electric, kind of like the June Jamboree, that will be a metered fee. And what then we ask is that you come in, you have an account that's established through the utility office, and then post your event is when you're going to get billed for that. And then that'll be based on specific, usage, for each of those meters. If you are just wanting to connect into the light post there at the park, or if you want to have, they're up here at the front of the park, we've got those new boards that are electric meters and so forth. If you want to connect into those, we do not anticipate to be a high voltage use for that. So we're just doing a flat rate of $50 for any of those type of uses. So just go ahead and still just put that you're requesting electric usage, put your dates of your event. But these two, and then with town staff, we'll know if it's going to be a higher usage or not. But yeah, so just, go ahead and fill it out. Yes, Lisa.
I feel like so down at the very bottom, I feel like last year, one of those 2 documents where it says choose the file, the map, and it wasn't the map, I know, but perhaps the COI or the indemnification had to be uploaded with the application, or you could not submit your application.
Yes.
Is that still? the
That is
case?
correct, yes, and
Okay.
we've got that, we'll talk about like what will be deemed a complete application. You do need to have a detailed event map, as well as having that complete signed and notarized indemnification. At the
Uploaded,
time of your submittal.
okay,
The system does not, true honesty and transparency, it does not know if you submitted a blank sheet of paper, or, an actual signed notarized indemnification form. However, that's when our eyes and review step in. And then if we see that those aren't provided, we'll communicate with you that, in order for this to be deemed a complete application and get circulated out to the departments for review, we will need to have that document in order to move forward. And then at that point, because it's so much easier just to directly email them, they can take that form from you and they'll drop it into your file. But yes, Lisa, you're 100% correct. It will not allow you to move forward if you do not download or upload a document.
so just word to the room,
Yes,
the indemnification needs to be notarized,
Yes.
which means you have to find a notary. So before you decide that you're ready to submit it, you have to have that piece in your
that
hand
is correct.
and scanned into the, and scanned.
Yeah, yeah. And, if these two do an amazing job of working with individuals, and they've had where individuals have had a difficult time. We wanted to, we don't want to prevent someone from filing with having some, difficult and being able to download a document and so forth. If there's something that you can put in there, I'm going to drop it off at the town hall, they'll wait for it, or, communicate with these two and let them know. I know they'd be more
You
than
can come
happy
by
to
the clerk
scan it
office and I can
in
scan it.
and put it in your application.
Do you have a notary on staff?
So at this time, we do not have a notary on staff that does notarizing for the. So that is something that we've kind of talked about, here, in the future, that may be something that, a service that we can provide. But,
I think the library has had one in the past. I don't know if they
they
have anybody's
did,
name.
and I know that, and I don't know all the ins and outs, but I know that a lot of the law had changed and kind of tightened up on some things, and that's, further, I think the reason why they no longer provide that service. But a lot of financial institutions, your banks will do that, and can help you out with that. So, yeah, and the notary, basically what that is that the individual who is a notary, they're just attesting to the fact that they have confirmed you and verified your ID. And that they know that you as a person signing the document is the person signing the document. So,
Yeah, so that's correct me if I'm wrong,
Yeah.
but if you have multiple events, we've used, like, you can list all of those events.
yes, as long as you list all of the events and they're on the one form, you can just keep one per year and just continue to, use that.
So not to belabor the point and not to make anyone feel defensive. Can you help me understand why it was felt necessary to have indemnification agreement? Because the reason I ask, for the events that are organized by individuals, it feels like a big burden to carry on that individual's shoulders, to be liable for everything that agreement asks you to be liable for.
No, and that's a very fair question. Honestly, it was something that not only our community, but several other communities, whether large or small scale, have come into, unfortunately, circumstances that when there are events, we've been advised to have this protection for the town. It's basically saying that as an event sponsor who's hosting event on town park or town property, that the town would not be held harmless. That's kind of the gist
Be
of
liable.
and liable. Yes, that we it kind of comes down to just kind of a liability. Now, in all practical reality, we know that if something, an injury or something unfortunate were to take place, doesn't, exempt us from being a part of those parties, but it is, just, we are not hosting the event, we're supporting that event as best as we can. But as far as that liability piece of it, we've been advised not only with statewide, we've got the Homeland Security
The bottom line is our insurance. will
and our
cover it.
insurance. And
If we don't have this indemnification, they're not gonna take on that risk.
Yeah.
So, and if we don't have that greater insurance, then you're even more vulnerable. That if something goes wrong in your event, because then we're not the deeper pocket.
in order for us to be insured, for the town of Pendleton, we even take that certificate of insurance that you provide. We have to have that uploaded into our USI, it's our risk management software. We have to enter in that form. That's why we ask for it 15 days ahead of time. So in that way, they can confirm and verify that those coverages and requirements are met. So there's just a lot of red tape, but I mean, it's just
If we don't have it,
protections that
couldn't
we
have-
have.
If we
to
didn't have your identification, we couldn't hold the event.
Yeah.
We
Yeah,
wouldn't have
it's just-
insurance.
yeah.
Our insurance coverage would be withdrawn.
And that's changed in the last few years, the
It's
insurance
Yeah.
has.
ridiculous. People
So
like.
somebody in town wants to have a garage sale,
A garage sale.
garage sale, and it's on the easement, part of it, and part of it's on the sidewalk in front of their house or home. Then they fill out one of these because it's on town property.
So we don't have a policy that guides that. I totally understand exactly where you're
Well,
coming
you said
from.
sidewalks and any park property, so how does that apply
Well,
town
you should,
property?
technically, you shouldn't do it. You should stay on.
But it's done all the time, so is it being stopped?
It depends on what you're doing. I mean, there's like being ridiculous, and then there's like,
Yeah.
okay, you got your
Right.
sign, you got a sign posted in the right of way that says garage sale. I mean, who's gonna get upset about that, right?
Well, I know.
So, but if you're putting your tent and it's halfway in the street, I think you violate.
Oh, yeah, I understand it, I understand. But there's a lot of garage sales on sidewalks, on the easements and stuff like that. So are they gonna get nipped?
If they're
Yeah,
putting
I mean-
stuff on the sidewalk, yeah,
They are.
yeah,
Code
If they're-
enforcement, we can, remove
yeah.
that.
But if you're off the right of way and in the grass, you're gonna be okay.
Several years ago, there was a Main Street Pendleton event. And at the last minute, Jack Wilson. Great idea, you got insurance for it. There was an accident during that event. He hadn't have gotten that insurance. Could have been costly to the town and board members in the park.
Yes, and another piece of this too, I'm gonna share with you the contacts as well. But there are pieces of your event that there are state statutes and requirements that, fireworks display. I know Nikki always, every year, she goes through that application process. June Jamboree, it's amusement and entertainment permit that they have to go through the state to be able to get that. And that was another piece of that indemnification piece that, it places that responsibility on the event sponsor if they feel that that is a needed coverage, license and permit. So, so it's just times are changing, times are evolving, and we just have to, unfortunately, have to set some policies and procedures to be able to, to protect you as the event sponsor, but then also protect the town as well.
But just backing up to what Lisa was saying, if my nonprofit organization is asking for a permit to do something, but I'm the one filling out the application, does that letter of indemnification, however, how's that, make me liable personally?
But you would have to ask your attorney, but you're doing it for your organization, and then the insurance, certificate of insurance you're getting is saying that your organization is covering it. Right.
Questioning in that. Okay. While I'm speaking, because I'm new here, I did not, representing DAR and the Police Across America. This will be our third year. Do we fill out this application every year? I'm not the person in charge, but she lives in Frankfurt. and-
Yes, yep, last November, I think was their second time that they filled that out, so yep. they've been doing it. And that was one thing too, it's kind of a learning experience that we held that event and they were like, whoa, this event's really grown. And yep, that qualifies for event. You guys have done an amazing job and
Well,
so
we
yeah, so
covered-
no, she
Covered by the National Police Across America for that day only.
Sure.
But, yeah.
Uh-oh, what happened there? So yeah, so just kind of a differentiation here, 'cause I know that we've got some great information that they're going to be providing here. I'll just keep on talking here and so we've got park events, we've got town events, we kind of talked about that. These two kind of run from A to Z for each one of those if it falls within that area. But just as far as just for your understanding, also wanted to clarify too, is that if you are, say, renting the building, Mr. Krieger, I'm sorry using your example, quite a bit here. So, but they have Lions Club that rents the community building for their monthly meetings. That is a private gathering, a private lease rental within that facility. If they are holding that, even if their members invite someone casually to come to that meeting, that is still a private session. It doesn't constitute a special event. However, where it changes a little bit is that if you're using that facility, you are broadcasting, inviting the public as an organized event. You are even going beyond the curtilage of that building. Say if you want to expand it into the parking lot and so forth for other types of uses, that is what will prompt it to be that requirement for a special event. So kind of wanted to point that out. Jennifer, if you want to go to the application process, that we can cover where the town links are there. The next page. For coordination though, these two again will verify that it's complete application. They circulate out to the town departments for input on any details. If there's any questions, concerns, they're going to let these two individuals know. They're going to get in contact with you to get the additional information or clarifications. Then they also at that time will notify you if there is a fee that will be related, whether it's going to be the large scale event fee or if it's going to be a utility $50 flat rate fee, or if it's going to be a metered event. And then from there, we've got our post application submittals. We talked about the certificate of insurance, miscellaneous permits, those type of things that as those come in. And another thing too, the event map, any and as much details you can provide is great. Where you have the dumpster, where you have those portalettes, where the vendor space will be, the activity space, the boundaries of your event. Put those all in your event. But sometimes, I mean, you all are amazing and you're filing these applications 9-10 months well ahead of time. You may not know exactly the layout of that event, but just know that as that time gets closer in time and those details start forming, submit a new event map to Jennifer or Christy, and they can upload that and circulate it out to our departments. It's very important, especially for public works or public safety. And then they will be the ones to issue your permit. That permit may have some conditions, some requirements, maybe to put those cones into the road to close up for the homecoming parade, moves them back after the event. I mean, so they're going to outline those for you. And then also too, let's say that they released that permit, but you hadn't submitted that certificate of insurance, that can also be a contingency for that permit. So, and then last, I know Nikki knows this more than anyone, these large scale events, say for Fall Festival, Heritage Fair, Christmas in Pendleton, 4th of July. We as staff will let you know if we feel that there needs to be a all department meeting where we kind of bring everyone together to kind of go over the details. Nikki does a wonderful job with Jennifer to be able to kind of walk through kind of what we can expect and answer any questions. And then same thing, we do some debriefing after those events as well. Okay, then,
Real quick, one thing that is not on the application yet, but that we were planning to add is a place for a contact, a point of contact that we can give to the public. We do get a lot of calls inquiring about events that we just want to have a contact for your event that we can give to the public, so we're not handing out anyone's personal cell phone or if you have.
If you have like a general email for your organization, that's a great start. And we do get a lot of questions as far as they're interested in being a vendor and where they're gonna start is the town of Pendleton or Falls Park. So, yeah, so.
Necessary too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like an organizational website, is that also,
Or-
that also be the sort of thing?
Yeah.
Or-
Whatever would be the easiest for them to get in touch with the organization.
And then the other piece to it that we're also going to add is a section for a public safety plan. So if you have a class 3 or a class 4, that is something they're gonna go over. A public safety plan is something, and it doesn't have to be in depth. I mean, we don't have any strict requirements, but things like where your informational booth is going to be, where your first aid, if a child gets lost, where would you want to report that individual to? Evacuation plan, or when you have 10,000 members, attendees that are coming to your event, we want to make sure that it is an event that is safe. And so any of those type of details, it doesn't have to be a certain specific form, but just showing that you're gonna hire private security, or you're gonna have 20 volunteers, you know, kind of in the perimeter of the event, or watching out, or rotating, any of those details. That is what the Pendleton Police Department, Mark Farr, is going to be looking for. Because if he feels that it's a law enforcement, event that kind of prompts those provisions and those protections and so forth, he's gonna let Jennifer and Christy know, and then that way you all can work together to kind of, you know, kind of better, support your event on that. So, these are just here, we've already talked about everything that really needs to be submitted here at the time of application. And then again, that certificate of insurance with that binder or declaration page 15 days prior, and then also those event fees, they ask for those, to be paid unless you're a metered event. Otherwise, those are due then 15 days prior to your event. So that is all my piece. You guys all asked some great questions, so forth. I'm going to turn it over, unless you have any questions from me, I'm going to turn it over to Connor Grant and Carrie Craig. They're going to talk to you about just kind of those significant changes that we've made, as primary changes to the policy. We've got a few slides on that, and thank you very much. Appreciate it.
Hi, everybody. Thanks for listening so far. You guys have had great questions. So Carrie and I are kind of going to go back and forth for the rest of the presentation. We're going to do a few slides at a time. The first slide here that I'm going to talk about is some of our new definitions for our special events. So what is an event sponsor? So what we define as an event sponsor for Pendleton is a nonprofit organization. That's probably the most important part, is that you are a nonprofit incorporated in the state of Indiana and in good standing with the Secretary of State. Again, nonprofit groups or a governmental taxing unit. That's why you might sometimes see something related to bus drivers needing to be hired, things like that, because school corporation is a taxing unit. But another important thing when it comes to defining your event and what your event is or are these support classifications. So class 1, this is where you will need little to no town or park support, right? You're just going to set up. People are going to come through and you're going to have your event. There's going to be small gatherings, whether it's in these public spaces, so be it meeting, seminar, workshop, something at the cemetery, things like that. Class 2, these are going to only require moderate support, so it might take place near or around town or park property, but it's not going to require any police presence or any sort of security or protection. This would be things like if there was a soccer tournament on soccer fields, or things like that. Class 3 and class 4, these are the two big ones. So if you are in one of these, if you have these large scale events, these both require high levels of support from the town or the park. Class 3, these are large events like festivals, marathons, and again, something like a sporting event or something that is serving alcohol. So even if it is a small scale event, but you are serving alcohol, it is defined as a class 3 event. Class 4, these are your big scale events like Christmas in Pendleton, like 4th of the Falls, things like that, that is stretching beyond our normal capacity or resources. Okay, so I would say June, January would be an example of that as well. And that is going to be something that requires multiple road closures simultaneously. So if you're going to be closing multiple roads within the town, that is going to be a class 4 event. I have the clickers here. Oh, but thank you. So now we're going to break down some of the fees. So Denise kind of already touched on some of this. If you are electing to use and connect to electricity or water in the town or the park. There's two different ways you can do this. Okay, you can pay a base flat fee of $50, and that will cover all of your water and electricity usage. And that will be due 15 days prior to your event, okay? It'll be invoiced to you and you'll pay 15 days before your event. If you have a large scale event, like Jim Jamboree, you're gonna be using a lot of electricity and connecting to a meter. Again, like Denise said earlier, there's gonna be a metering rate and you will be invoiced after the event is over, and then you will then make your payment. And then a note on class 3 or class 4 events, if your event requires one or more hard road closures, okay, so the road is going to be shut down for the duration of your event, or you are using the town services, whether it's for trash cleanup or road closures, there is a non-refundable flat rate fee of $500, and that would be either payable to the town or the park, depending on where you're holding that. And this is also due 15 days prior to the event. But
trash down there. What's that mean as far as a single day event, 3-day event, 4-day event? Is that, what's,
if town employees are going to be the ones picking up your trash,
during the event?
it's, yes,
Okay.
at any time
okay,
during the event.
During the event, all right.
If you are handling that with volunteers, it does not constitute.
We've had to, okay.
Yes. No, takes care of all of your trash.
Okay.
So that's not something. Any other question? Oh, yeah, sorry.
For the fees, will those be billed to events already approved prior to the effective date of this change? Or will it be billed for any new events approved?
Great question. So it is those that were filed after the effective date of this. Yes.
So if you filed before the end of April, you're good. Okay. Any other questions? Perfect. Gary's gonna come up and talk now.
Good evening, everyone. Thank you for being here. Let's talk a little bit about public safety because there are some, as you can see, some new provisions here with regards to security. On average, we have 4 events that bring approximately 50,000 attendees into our town over the course of the year. And so there's a real need to, when there are class 3 and 4 events, to provide us with a public safety plan. And the public safety plan is you telling the town and the emergency services what your protocols are, as Denise mentioned, such as a missing child. How do you deal with individual accidents? This nauseates me to say, but also casualty mass incidents. We're seeing more and more of those happening all over our country, and it does not, Pendleton, even though it's small, it's not necessarily, things can still happen here, right? And so we want to kind of know what your thinking is and how you will deal with those. And so think through all possible scenarios when you're putting together your emergency plan. The other thing that's important that we need to know as a town, as a park, is what is your chain of command? Who's ultimately responsible for this event, so that in case these incidents occur, there's communication only between that individual and the other, the person in the chain of command at the town park levels. And then that person in your chain of command is responsible for communicating to your volunteers what this plan is and how they will be involved in that and what the communication piece looks like. As Denise said, your booth should be both an informational booth, but also a sort of command center. It'll be a lost and found for children, for items, and just have a basic first aid kit available there as well. So if someone needs a Band-Aid or what have you, they can come there for that information or for that item. So the public safety plan will be reviewed by Scott, the town manager, Sherry Belt, who's the new Parks Director, Art Farr, and Chris Snowdine, as well as the Brett Mabry, who's the building inspector, code enforcement officer. Your plan could be denied, and it will be sent back to you for modification. And you may, at that point, you can withdraw your application if you feel like what they're requesting is too burdensome. In terms of classified as anticipating or not anticipating law enforcement, the chief of police will determine that. So if the event would trigger anticipated law enforcement action, that means, arrest for violations, for public intoxication, those sorts of things. He may require that you have extra staffing, which would include off-duty police officers and also the number of off-duty officers you might require based on the event size. And also, if there are more than 2 alcohol stations or serving alcohol for more than 4 hours in a non-confined event space. So the town reserves the right, so does the park, in canceling an event or stopping an event either before it happens or the day of, if it creates a serious risk to public safety or places a significant financial burden on these resources. The event sponsor,
If the event is large enough for the town police department determines extra security is there a town standard as far as payment then to the town for that extra security? Is there a standard?
So what I understand is that the police department would like to have first right of refusal. So asking them if they have individuals who are willing to take those off-duty assignments.
At what charge?
$50 an hour is their fee. You as the event sponsor are required, it's on you to collect their hours that they have served, and then you will cut the check directly to those.
Okay, what if I contact LaPel Police Department and they'll do it for $30 an hour, same number of people?
That's
You Put
completely
that,
acceptable.
yeah, that's completely acceptable.
Okay,
Yes.
So, where we have contracted with a private company to provide. So is that something that should go to, after this year has to go into the police department first and hire?
You can also hire off-duty security agency. And if you have the name of that agency, it'd be great if you put that in your application, just so that the chief is aware of who that is or is going to be. So for example, if you mentioned that you're going to use resources from LaPel, you might say that. Oh, yes.
To better facilitate the safety plan and to help mitigate cancellation of an event, say day of, will there be pre-event date meetings, or can the contact person schedule meetings with these safety reps to kind of go over the plan and see what is needed before they get to that point? Because that would be a lot of costs.
Sure. Yeah, we've had for class 3 and 4, we have made it a practice to have those meetings and kind of work through them. But, we would not really anticipate that there would be any issue that wouldn't be identified going into the event. It's just a protection that if there was that unforeseen circumstance that something were to arrive, that was just a provision that they added in there. But as far as communication, if you have concerns or questions, we'd be more than happy to sit down with you, pull in Chris Snowdine, Mark Farr, the 2 chiefs, and and have a one-on meeting with you as well, even if they didn't feel that it was necessary to have an all department meeting. Yeah, we're here to help.
Evacuation plans. We have one.
Yeah.
And it's been coordinated. EMS is down there with us every year. Fire department's down there with us every year. Got a police officer down there during the event. Now, that's been not formally accepted, but it's, and with Lures, they review it too. It may not be marked, and I'm sure it's looked at, but it's police officers, fire department, EMS folks that are down there. In fact, EMS this year took a picture of it because he liked it. So the public safety is so generic that whoever's reviewing these things, it doesn't give us much idea of what the definition of public safety is.
Would it be helpful for city / police / fire to put together a suggested policy? You know, and if you're here, this is an evacuation plan, just,
Yeah,
we know what the
sure.
park looks like, we know what the exits are, but state that out so that everybody can just say, hey, copy paste, there it is, we know what it is, and make it easier for everybody involved.
And you get a similar evacuation plan for.
Exactly.
So I'll speak to that. 'Cause this is something that I know that we've had conversations on. So like when we were, planning for the 4th at the Falls, we kind of put into practice, like if we have a severe storm, we will announce, safety plans, go to dugouts, go seek coverage under the concession stand, go to your vehicles. We had a plan in place and it kind of looked like there was a possible pop-up storm on, the sound guy's phone. And I came up to you guys like, here's the situation. We need to be aware of this. So we've been discussing this and we've been even talking about like for parades, when we have parades, if something erratic happens, where are people going to go? Like we don't have identified on the parade route maps, a safety plan for people. And we have all of these people in these events and we don't have well identified places. So this has been a conversation. So like, it's, turn on your brain of all of these bad situations that could happen. So if you're at the June Jamboree and a shooter comes in, where are places of coverage, that people can go. If a bad storm comes in, what do? I tell my vendors, we immediately drop the canopies down. Like all of these action points of everything that can happen with all of these scenarios that come in. If a child goes missing, nobody leaves.
Yeah.
But it would be nice to have a contact to go to set that up, because for Heritage Fair, we contacted EMS, who told us, contacted the fire department to help us set it up. Fire department told us it's not their job, go to EMS. So now it's like, okay,
So I feel like,
are we gonna create our own plan and we're not the experts? Does it make sense?
Right. Yeah.
so there's NIMS, which is, I think, a national,
Incident management system. Yeah, and so I've been told, because we were gonna reach out to EMS before the falls, I'm told that they don't do large events, they just don't have the. So, obviously they do it for June Jamboree, but not for everything.
But it's there for public information. They're
Exactly,
not
absolutely.
there to provide a service,
Right.
but they will if there's
Yes.
in our case.
And one of the things I'd like to stress that we've talked about internally is that your person at the apex of the chain of command should contact 911 if there's an incident for police and emergency services. Please do not contact the police department or the fire department on their regular phone, because they want all of that run through 911 so they can coordinate the emergency and police and response. If there's a mass incident, they'll probably call from other communities to assist. So it's important that you use the 911. Chances are you have 911 operators already on calls with other people who have witnessed something. But nonetheless, run it through your chain of command if you see something that really requires police or fire or emergency services so that they can contact 911. I just wanted to point that out. So let's go to the next slide, please. These are miscellaneous provisions. Road closure requests. We're happy to entertain your request to close off specific streets in the downtown or in the park. We are, closing off certain streets for the larger events, the class 3, class 4 events, simply because those are opportunities for people to drag cars through those areas, just terrible things like that. So we're trying to minimize that kind of impact. The other thing is just be mindful of the impact on traffic, particularly State Street, if it's on a weekday or a weekend in Pendleton Avenue. And maybe seek out alternative event space within the downtown or the park if you can't get your road closure request approved. Event sponsor is responsible for all traffic and safety procedures, directional signage, accessible parking signs near the event, clear pathways and road closings. So just keep that in mind. In terms of non-fee related utility needs, we discussed that you as an event sponsor are responsible for the additional electric or water equipment. That means spider boxes, multiple nozzles coming off of a public water spigot. You will need to rent those if necessary. The event sponsor is responsible for ensuring the equipment is removed from pedestrian foot traffic and that the cords and all of those sorts of things are adequately covered to prevent trip hazards. Trash and waste event cleanup. You need to have extra trash receptacles and portable restrooms may be required. I've talked to Rick Bolin, who's the superintendent of the street department, and people are going to use the downtown trash cans, but if it's being used before Best Way comes to dispose of those on their weekly route, that trash is going to accumulate in front of downtown businesses. It's unsightly, it's just annoying, it smells. So have those extra trash receptacles available. You could rent those fairly cheaply, I think, from Hudson Rentals or from Best Way. Well, Best Way definitely. The porta pots are through Hudson. And one of the things I will say is no matter what size your event or classification of your event, maybe think about having at least 1 or 2 portalets, because I can tell you from experience that downtown businesses do not operate public restrooms. They just don't. They don't have the space. They don't have the ability to do that. So just think about that. And then you're responsible for the cleanup of the event immediately once it's over.
What's that mean?
What do you mean?
Clean up of the event after it's over, if the town's providing trash.
Yeah, so if the town is providing trash service, they'll be coming around in teams of 2. Usually there are 4 on hand, depending on the classification, whether it's 3 or 4. And they'll constantly be removing those trash bags, taking it to a central dumpster. If you are a class 3 or 4 event where the town is picking up trash, you'll need to also rent a sufficiently large container that, for example, for Fall Festival and Heritage Fair and Christmas in Pendleton, those are really large slide-on dumpsters because of the amount of trash that will get dumped there. So just think about that. And in terms of general cleanup, we do have a street sweeper. They usually take care of that, I think, on Monday
morning.
Yeah.
But
But make sure all of the, if you're seeing stuff on the sidewalks, make sure that gets picked up and thrown away. If you see stuff in the grass, as in the park, pick that up as well. Let's talk about parades. So we do have a new policy, and the reason why we have a new policy is, what we're seeing at these parade events are more and more children, young, all the way up to high school, running into the street, running near the vehicles. And it's just getting worse and worse, it seems like every year. And so no longer can groups throw candy or trinkets from a float. You have to have people walking around that float to kind of hand the candy or pitch the candy a little bit towards the curb. But no throwing from floats. So that's new, just so you know. And then you're, again, responsible for the cleanup around that parade, not necessarily all the candy and trinkets that's left over, because we could probably get that with the street sweeper. But, you know, all the trash that's left on the sidewalk, that sort of. Lastly, banners. Just wanted to say that banners, we will only permit those banners for nonprofit and governmental organizations. The duration that they will hang is a maximum of 2 weeks. All of its signage should be removed immediately following the event. So if you have, as we said, you know, you're highlighting where accessible parking is, all types of signage that you have out, please remove those the day immediately following this event. And just only chalk-based marking paint is allowed on the pavement or grass area. Any questions?
Okay, go ahead.
Sorry.
Yeah.
In the past, because we placed our sandwich board uptown, but we were told that we have to include that in the permit as well. Is that still the case?
To include that, just specify that in your application.
Okay.
Yep.
Thank you.
No problem.
So I know we kind of touched on this earlier, and it's kind of been like a current topic, and maybe some various permits and licensing you may need from the state depending upon what is going on during your event. So these three are required by the Indiana Department of Homeland Security. And again, we are just here to give you the contact information you need for these. We are not the actual, I guess, except for public firework displays, there's a little caveat to that. But the first one is the amusement and entertainment permit. Again, IDHS, the website is linked, and there are also 2 people you can contact at that phone number. And you can also email general questions to codequestions@DHS. But
Years of experience with amusement and entertainment permit. You can apply, and you need to apply, but you will probably not hear anything back from that Homeland Security entity until after or just before on when the inspector is supposed to be down there. So and I don't know if the town is asking, and Parks is asking for a copy of that approved document, you won't see it.
So if you do obtain that, want to provide that for our records, that's wonderful. We'll definitely add that to your file. But we do not have to have documentation for that. That'll be on.
Just to make sure you're applying.
Yeah.
for what
Yeah.
the appropriate one.
that's what I was gonna say too, like, this is not documentation we are requiring you to present to us. It is for your own safety and to ensure that your event runs properly.
And I'm sure, I mean, we spoke to the fire marshals, and they've got multitudes of events across the state. So I'm sure they're working on deadline. They do, Jennifer and I went to a workshop a couple years ago. They will look at local calendars, state calendars of festivals and so forth, and they'll just kind of pop in, and one that they feel that are larger scale events, they'll pop in. So you're 100% right.
Yeah.
A lot of times it's just
And the
right.
inspector may
right
or
at the
may not
deadline. Yeah.
know what he or she is talking about.
Yes.
I guarantee it.
So the next one is the public firework display permit. So the little caveat with this one is the permit from the Department of Homeland Security authorizes your use of that, but Chris Nodine will have to sign off on that for it to actually be effective. And again, that would be something, again, if your event's gonna have public fireworks, you're probably gonna be coordinating with the fire department or the police department anyways. So that will come up naturally. Then amusement ride permits, again, Department of Homeland Security website, the hotline is linked there. And I don't know if it was mentioned earlier, but this presentation will be uploaded online in that same sort of page earlier. So you can access all of these links and all this will be readily available. And then some more miscellaneous permits, the miscellaneous NDOT permit. So if you are trying to close a state road for your event, like State Road 67, you will have to go through NDOT to do that. Food service regulation, right, for your vendors, Madison County Health Department provide information on that. And then if you are going to be broadcasting or streaming any copyrighted music, so that's a wide umbrella. You just need to get a commercial license from any of these programs or companies, just one will suffice. And again, this is not something that we are actively enforcing. This is for your own event, the security of your own event, to make sure that if Department of Homeland Security showed up, you actually had your permits.
And I don't know if we have anyone here attending on behalf of the homecoming parade. I don't know if we do or not, but you do not actually have to obtain that NDOT permit for the road closure, the temporary closure there at State Road 67 and US 38, or State Road 38. We did get confirmation from the state. So it's a very temporary closure that's controlled really well by our local police department. So, but if it's a permanent state road closure you're seeking, they do have a process. Sorry.
Very good. And the next thing I'm gonna talk about is the handbook. So we've kind of gone over a lot of details that are in the handbook. I've spent a long time curating and making it. It basically explains the ordinance in as much detail as I can humanly type out onto the paper. The ordinance is attached as an appendix as well. But basically, any question you may have about the event should be able to be answered by what's provided in the handbook. There are hard copies here, if some people would like to grab some. Like I said, I really tried to break everything down as much as humanly possible. It might seem like word vomit on the pages, but it's about 30 pages of really good information, everything explained in as much depth and detail as I possibly could. And that QR code too, we will be sure to email to you guys so you can spread that around to whether it's other event sponsors or people who will be showing up to your events. And that just takes you to the same homepage we talked about at the beginning that had all of this sort of information on it. If you have any questions about this, feel free to let me know afterwards. I don't mind to kind of go into it, but Carrie's going to talk about DORA now, which is kind of a new process we're going through. He's way more of an expert on it than I am, so I will try.
So how many of you know about DORA? Just. Okay, so last year, the legislature passed legislation that would allow for communities to create these designated outdoor refreshment areas. In May, the town council created the downtown DORA. Can you move to the map? Yes. So you can see here, this was initially, I think it's 2510 that this is the downtown DORA. Sorry, this in June, the Parks Board requested that certain areas of the park be added into the DORA ordinance, and they passed a resolution recommending that to the council. The council just passed that ordinance. So what it is this area is contiguous to the downtown DORA, so they're actually one large DORA area. Yes.
If an organization is the sponsor of an activity on park property, can the park then put a DORA space on that during that event?
It goes on, but it's subject to your application and your interest in participating. Yeah, they cannot piggyback or they cannot add in a DORA event that would require a special event application from, say, the park or whatever organization. Yeah.
So even though it's one DORA, we call them in different sections, right? So downtown DORA, Falls Park DORA. The downtown DORA, where it intersects at Water Street and North Pendleton Avenue, anything south of that in that downtown district will operate Sunday through Saturday, 7 a.m. to 11 p.m. But as Denise just said, if you're requesting Dora in the park, that will either be turned on or off. So for most events, it's going to be off. But when there is alcohol that you'd like to have served in the park area, the park and the town will decide whether or not they will turn it on. And if they turn it on, the Dora will be available from 10 a.m. to 11 p.m. inside of the Falls Park Dora. So the other thing is that I just want to quickly note some of the excluded areas. All playgrounds are excluded from the Dora. The community center, the pool,
Conservation Club.
conservation
Building.
club building, yes, are all excluded. Charlene's Corner is excluded. And the Barnhart Field is not. Barnhart Field is within the Dora. And it runs, the Falls Park Dora runs just south of the creek over to North Pendleton Avenue. And then down to Water Street without taking in playground. So just wanted to point those out. The event space must be identified within the boundaries clearly marked with Dora signage. So every Dora boundary, so in the town, you'll see entrance and exit points at all of the areas where you can possibly come into the downtown Dora. There will be temporary signs which the park will erect if there is a Dora event there. So those signs will have to be erected around those particular perimeters. And the park will do that actually. And people will be told when they're entering that Dora or when they are exiting that Dora as well. Temporary fencing is no longer required under Dora. That was one of the benefits of having this. So people can literally stroll around with up to 2 containers of alcohol. Those have to be in approved Dora containers. And those are 16-ounce plastic containers with the Dora logo on it. 16 ounces for beer, 12 ounces for liquor, and then what was it, 10 ounces, 8 ounces
for like a
mixed drink, yes. So and people can then purchase those drinks within an establishment downtown or from approved vendors who are situated throughout the Dora that are not in a bricks and mortar establishment. Just so you know, anyone who is what we call a vendor will have to, even if they still have a temporary permit to sell alcohol outside of their establishment, they still have to apply for a permit for the actual event. So just keep that in mind. Or they can't operate in that Dora. If they're a designated permittee, which means they're the bricks and mortar establishment, they don't have to apply for any special permit to do that. So if the event boundary continues to downtown Dora, will allow drinks. So we're talking about the park from the approved designated permittee and vendors. Then obviously people can move around in that Dora boundary. If the event boundary is not contiguous to downtown Dora, you may only allow Dora drinks from the approved vendors to move freely within that event boundary. So let's say you have solely a Dora, an event in the Falls Park Dora, but nothing on that North Pendleton Avenue. You can't move alcohol out of that entrance area to the downtown Dora. You have to get rid of it. Then you can come back into the downtown Dora and move alcohol freely there. So just so you know, there are certain events that will utilize that North Pendleton space, avenue space, which you then, if the Dora is turned on in the park, you can then freely move it from the Falls Park Dora to downtown.
So just a quick question, just so I'm understanding, let's say that June Jamboree, they're allowing Dora for whatever reason. I know that might not ever happen, but just for. So they're allowing Dora, you could not purchase alcoholic beverage from the stable down here and walk all the way to the park. That would be closed. It's two separate.
Yes,
Things.
at that point, it's
Okay.
two separate,
Can you-
even though it's continuous.
Or the map. So let's say, for example, let's say that, the Pride event is held at the community building, right? And so right here is kind of where that community building, that circle drive is. If you would like to have that door feature as a benefit or an added feature to your event, you can indicate on your application you'd like to exercise the door for your event. You, in your event map, would submit an event map and you would show where those additional barricade signages, temporary signages that the park would provide to you, and where that outline of your boundary of your event. If you want to limit your event solely to say just this here in this middle section. So that is only where that DORA could be exercised in the park during the confinements of the boundaries of your event and the time of your event. You can do it starting at 10 o'clock in the morning all the way up to 11 o'clock. But if you only want to exercise that allowance between 3 and 7, you can do 3 and 7. That is your event, to make those determinations. But it would be set here. Now, that being said, you can see where these little blue squares are filled in here. Those are what represent the designated permittees. That is an approval for these brick and mortar restaurants that they can sell alcohol in their establishments, and they can allow individuals to kind of come and go within their boundaries of their establishments, their buildings and so forth, walk around downtown and so forth, within the limited amounts and ounces, and it has to be in a DORA approved cup. So it's like a clear cup that's going to have a logo and whatnot. Anyway, on an everyday basis, individuals, if they so choose, want to be able to purchase a drink from the wine stable and be able to come to Bedazzle and shop, and Bedazzle wants to participate to allow them to come into their store with their alcohol, they can do so. However, let's say that there is an event that's here, like I was just mentioning at the community building, you can see that there's a big gap here, here at the front of the park. If you as an event sponsor do not want to take the responsibility of having this whole middle section here to manage, to watch, and so forth, it's only going to be limited to the confinement of your event. And it can only be utilized if you have an approved vendor through the state of Indiana. So that is a non-brick and mortar alcohol permittee, right? So that individual can then sell without having to have a temporary fencing to keep you within their tent or, 10 by 12, 12 by 12 space. Or, say if, I know for 4th of the Falls, there is a temporary fencing that the wine stable as a vendor, caterer can sell alcohol, but who they sell to has to stay within that fenced in area. The benefit of DORA is it opens up that requirement to where that temporary fencing is not required. Then that individual can walk freely within the boundaries of your event. So if they want to purchase from a vendor, in one corner and walk and shop and so forth with the alcohol, they can do so during your event allowed times and within your boundary. That being said, if you set up, let's say, here up at the front of the park by the gazebo, something a little bit more in close proximity, or around North Pendleton Avenue, north of Water Street, where the normal downtown DORA is cut off. We've got Fall Festival that we've got vendors that set up on North Pendleton Avenue that come up here to the entrance of the park. If they wanted to exercise the DORA, have that in as their special event, then what they can do, if they so choose, they can say, set the boundaries. If they want to limit it to just North Pendleton Avenue and where you set up along Water Street and so forth, you can set your boundaries here on North Pendleton Avenue here, but the convenience of being adjacent to the downtown area, someone could go into the wine stable, Catello's, they can go into, someone, purchases the bank, we got Michael's coming in here, they can take a drink and then they can walk from the brick and mortar into your event space, set by the boundaries of your event space. So in that type of scenario, you can have a vendor within your event, but you also can allow drinks from the designated permittees, which are those brick and mortar establishments. And then the third scenario, let's say that your event space is here, but you want to allow individuals to walk and enjoy the shops and then come on down into the heart of your event. As long as you are good with having security, having signage, having monitoring and so forth, in the in-between space too, you can expand your event space to accommodate that. It just needs to be outlined in your event map and so forth. We've got, I don't know if you mentioned this, but the ordinance to include the park as a on-off layer through a special event approval was approved last Thursday. We still have to submit this ordinance to ATC for approval. Once we submit that for approval, then we're going to give a public notification of when we are ready to start allowing individuals not only to do it in the downtown area, but as well as in the special event space. Our goal is to have it by our September events, so Heritage Fair and Fall Festival.
So can I
that-
say something about
Yes.
the cups real quickly? The cup size, the cup color, the cup logo are all mandated by state statute. So that's not Pendleton making that up. So we welcome you to have other restaurants located within the town of Pendleton, such as, Hacienda Vieja, Tequila Sunrise, Ambets, the Legion. However, you need to let them know early on that they're going to have to purchase cups from a vendor that they either find or utilize. Because most of the bricks and mortar establishment who could also serve as vendors outdoors, they will already have those cups because they're already using it within the door itself. So just so you know, you need to communicate to any outside vendors that they're going to have to purchase those cups. They can, if they want, they could pass along the cost to their customers.
Is that through the permit process? Because I imagine if they're going to be within the DORA and they're outside, they have to have that DORA approved permit to be able to utilize those cups. They can't just get the cups anywhere and just utilize. Okay, so
We would be happy to share the file with them with the DORA logo.
any alcohol sales after DORA is established has to be a DORA approved alcoholic distributor.
That
Vendor.
is, no. You
can still
you
do
can
the-
operate
you can still do
under
the
the old
classic.
way. Yeah,
Where you
And-
have a fenced off area.
Okay, but it just legitimately has to be fenced off. You can't leave within that perimeter,
Yes.
et cetera. Okay.
So it's really just a pick or choose.
But I
Yeah.
tell you, that is hard to
It's hard to manage.
please.
Yeah.
and as we start practicing and working these, we're gonna start putting details in this handbook, some FNQ or FAQs and whatnot, so in that way, we can learn how to better communicate all this, because this is all new for us as well, so.
And I'm guessing it have a DORA event. You get into the indemnification, you get into all of this security, what? You may be showing this, I don't know, but just me personally, scares the bejesus out of me on a DORA event in a small community and control of it and the responsibility then of the organization and the town and whomever that's controlling the drinking within that DORA event. And he or she leaves, and there's a car accident out here. Then what happens?
My understanding, I don't know, Lisa, do you have a?
Well, I can speak to Park Fest and our experience. And I can speak to the alley events that we did last summer and our experience. Park Fest was designed to allow people to bring their own beverages in, a la Connor Prairie, a lot of other outdoor events in other towns. We took it upon ourselves to hire security. It was not mandated. Not once did we ever have any suspicion that there was going to be any trouble with someone over serving themselves. People were respectful to the space, respectful to the families, respectful to their own drinking and ability to control it. Last summer, when we did the alley events, we had alcohol sales. We did not close off, other than the barricades we used so we couldn't have car traffic driving down the alley. We did not monitor whether people walked in or out with that drink they had purchased. The liability for over serving falls on the seller
Exactly.
and the server and their license through ATC, just like it does when you walk into the stable to buy a drink. The liability falls on them
Yes.
to not overserve people.
And we've heard from all of our restaurants that they know when to cut people off. And so,
And they have to go through state mandated training.
yes, exactly.
Their servers have a license. I can't walk in and start working at the stable without getting a server's license. So that's where the liability falls. And we found that people don't just use an event as an excuse to get fall down drunk.
And they have to carry their own insurance, and that's something that, as an event sponsor, that is, you're covering your events, but their insurance will cover, their distribution.
I researched this a lot and presented to the Parks Department meeting a couple of months ago. And other communities that have this in play have not had any negative situations. I feel like, it's been well executed. Restaurants are responsible, people are responsible. And, like I'll speak, I think that a lot of people probably already walk around drinking, have alcohol in their cups anyway, we just don't know it. So, and our 4th at the Falls, people were, drinking, whether they brought drinks in their coolers or, got it at the stable. For multiple years, that event has gone off very well. And, so I don't think that just because of implementing this in our community, we're going to have a high rate of incidents.
Believe it or not, doors actually restrict alcohol consumption because, believe it or not, conservative Indiana has one of the loosest rules when it comes to alcohol consumption, meaning the only place you could not drink an alcoholic beverage is in your vehicle. So it means somebody can go down to Perky's, purchase a 5th of liquor or a case of beer and come right up here downtown and sit on a bench and drink it all. DORA says, no, you can't do that anymore. You've got to buy from these established designated permittees and vendors, and you can only purchase so much, right? So, so it actually does tighten.
You don't want to you don't want to sell in that area. But can you open up DORA so if there's an event downtown that's selling, that allows people to take it on up into your area also without you selling?
Yeah.
Right.
So For the great question, I think for set boundaries, you either have to have a minimum of one approved vendor or a designated permittee. So, I mean, if you want to work with your adjacent, events host and work together to enlarge it to include yours, space for that, I don't think that there would be a problem, with that. But let's say that the Fall Festival opted to not participate in that. They're a little bit more in the middle of the downtown area and where Heritage Fair set up, would not be able, if they were not agreeing to participate in it, you would not be able to opt into that if there was a gap.
But if we wanted to,
You absolutely,
yeah.
If you're downtown, people have the right under the store ordinance to carry their alcohol.
within,
But if they chose not to, then those drinks would not be able to be permitted
Yeah.
into the park. And there would have to be signage.
That's right.
yeah. So if you were to opt out of doing the door within the Fall Festival, the boundary is going to stop at Pendleton Avenue, Water Street. Yeah, it would naturally include Water Street just because of the boundaries that are set forth by the downtown door. But if you wanted to extend that into North Pendleton Avenue in your area, you most certainly could do that. But we would want to make sure that if you wanted to not have a vendor, but yet work within, say, one of your vendors in your space, we would want that communicated and agreed upon completely. We would want that assumption to be made.
I can tell you from years past and being in media and at events with alcohol, the only people that's gonna be upset is your vendors. Because the alcohol is gonna get spilled on your tin or it's gonna get spilled on your product. So that may be an issue down the road at an event where alcohol gets spilled. The only ones that's gonna be upset is your vendors. And if they put hard work into their products, they're gonna be very upset.
Yeah. And that'll be a decision for the event sponsor.
Just giving you a heads up now.
Yeah, and just so you know, with regards to Dora, every business has the option, they'll be given a decal of whether or not they would permit alcohol to come into their establishments or not come into their establishments. They're the participator.
And also to kind of piggyback on the point just made, that's kind of what I was saying a little bit ago, is you can still do the traditional model where you have a fenced off specific area. You don't have to opt in the door to sell alcohol. You can still fence off an area and only sell alcohol in that area. You do not have to turn Dora on.
You just have to get that form approved by all the department heads.
And that alcohol vendor does not have to be approved by the ATC if you opt to go in that format. However, if you do want to exercise the DORA, any alcohol serving vendor, that platform has to be approved through the state. So what they'll have to do is fill out paperwork here from the town, resolution, town council will sign off on it, and then they'll take that form, submit it with their application to Alcohol Tobacco Commission for approval. So that is one thing that you will want to watch, that if you are going to exercise on that, your vendor has to be approved through the state.
And most vendors selling alcohol understand what the process is, and particularly if they're into catering and those sorts of things.
And I think it's a 3 to 5 day turnaround, I think, for those applications. So it's pretty quick.
I do feel like good communication is important as we start this process, making sure like our downtown businesses, and I would say like our boutiques and other stores know that this is coming, and as far as like Karen mentioned, like our vendors, that this is a new process thing that we're moving forward to. So
I agree. We've talked about doing like a kind of a similar setup as tonight, a public informational session for designated permittees, our vendor business owners. So then that way, we're all on the same page, and because it's all new.
Is there could there be a notification process for businesses to know when a DORA is enacted and if it would affect their area?
Or Say that again as far as.
For example, we're a Plum House, we're down south end.
Okay,
We probably wouldn't allow, food, alcohol in our restaurant or in our business anyway. But day by day, I don't care, but I would like to know that when the door is enacted, so I can effectively say, hey, right here.
Yes.
Let's stop at the door.
Well,
Is there a notification process?
you'll be given two decals, one that you accept or one that you
Oh, okay.
reject. You put that on the front door of your establishment so that people can clearly see it and they'll know that they cannot bring,
and you're not required to post that,
Yeah.
but just for, courteous for you and communication. Sure.
Sorry. doing
Yeah. Yeah. We, in order for us to go live, we are going to, we crafted the ordinance to require that public notification. Because we wanted to make sure that we were equipped, we were prepared, we had our signages out before that, oh, okay, now the state has approved it, it's on their website, and we haven't done all of our homework yet, so, yeah.
And the parks will be on and off, so that will have to be, because even if someone applies for it, depending on what everything's going on, it doesn't mean it necessarily can be too. Because there are different excluded areas that were important if they. Because the sports complex is not included in it as well.
Anything basically, north of the creek, along that is excluded as well.
I don't know into this, not door, I'm not talking door right now, but if the application process, I think used to be something like 45 days before the event. Don't know what it is, but whatever it is right now, the organization meets that goal 60 days before the event, But another organization has put in a request for DORA, say in the park, the year before. What's going to happen to something that's been in the park for over close to 60 years? The application's in there 60 days before the event, but there's a DORA approval there during the same period.
That's a good question.
Yes. Yeah,
let me just say, we're learning from this, and I have no doubts the legislature at some point in the next couple of years will return to this particular statute, because,
I'm talking locally here.
Yeah, exactly. But we're gonna have to rethink some things, I think, too, and I don't know that we necessarily thought somebody could request a DORA right next to June Jamboree.
Well, but there's organizations that have put in events for a whole year at a time on these dates.
That's one thing that's very key when you apply. Do put in your next year's dates, because that will lock you into those dates as well. And it also puts it on the calendar for these two as well, and they watch that. So if there was, a standing event that we've had each year, we honor that. So if someone were to come in, just happen to apply before June Jamboree, that, we're going to know that that is going to be in conflict. And that doesn't mean someone can then just come in and say, oh, I'm going to apply for a DORA for the entire boundary of the park system, and you not have any say in the fact that, that is your event space. So.
And the park does consider all of that, and we have a continuous,
Okay.
we know what to expect on those certain things as far as, and I'm even new to it, but it's been well tracked in that. Those are things that are all considered, and the park can say no to certain things too.
I would foresee that somebody trying to do that so they could have alcohol in the park during the car show, during Heritage Fair, during the Jamboree, sometime where those are pretty large events. And over here, well, I'm gonna make a couple bucks on it, or I'm gonna do something extra for it, and I'm gonna have
So remember, the new policy is that the town and park can not only deny their application, but can also just stop that event from occurring if they think it's a threatening thing.
I would anticipate that most of our events applying for this DORA, they're gonna have strict, and that's what we're gonna require is, definitive boundaries for those areas. So that's definitely gonna have to be something that's going to be, clear up front. Where that type of feature. Utilized. Anyone have questions on door or anything? Any other questions, concerns? We have been amazing.
Before they're gone.
So yes, if you want to go to the QR code here. Now link to our special event page. And feel free to email, call us or whatnot, and we'll be happy to answer any questions you have.